Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back for another week. And again, exciting things have happened. It feels like we had a whole month where nothing exciting happened. It was just December where we're trying to figure out things to talk about on the podcast.
And then they
now
spoiled
every
witches.
single week. True. But then but then every single week so far has been great. We had a deck leave, so it's unplayable now.
Wow.
We just got back from a calling. We had Lucas get second place, which is like the Runaways.
We had Lucas allow Florian to Living Legend. That's
Okay,
what actually.
That's how we're selling it. Okay, gotcha. I just thought that was the typical Runaways finish of not first.
Well, it completed the Infinity Stone for me. I've now gotten top 8, top 4, second, and first at a calling. So I needed to fill out the bingo card.
Yeah. My bingo card's still missing that first place. I have all the other positions. I even have 9th and 10th.
That's like the middle spot.
Yeah. We're that. I'll get that one eventually. Maybe after some of the things that I learned from this weekend. But before we go into your super long story time of your weekend, which was pretty cool, I'll go to Noah. You and I both played Florian. You actually did pretty well in Florian. Finished top 16, which is sweet. Florian is now gone, so you have to play a new hero that is not KO moving forward.
Wait, what? That's the rule? Wait,
Yes.
Who made that rule?
I feel like
we're banning you off of KO. This is what everyone has decided on the team, including yourself.
So I was thinking about this. I really just enjoy playing heroes that have actual armor. I was thinking one of the reasons why I don't like Marionette is because, sure, in theory, you have black tech in some matchups, maybe, if you're even still playing that. And you have the 2-block hat, also theoretically. But in the games where you just have to block your hat on turn 1 to become Orb Weaver to start playing the game, you're basically playing the entire game with no armor. So when I got home, I was really happy playing Florian, and now I have to think about something like Cody said that's not KO, but also needs to have armor because, I don't know, I really enjoy having that crutch of if my opponent is going to chain end on something that's threatening, but my hand already wanted to block with cards early. Having those like Temper 2 pieces, it's so nice. Temper or Battle Worn 2 pieces, just like, okay, you have like a Chain Ender Snatch or Chain Ender CNC, I can just like not have to screw my whole turn over because this thing happened. So there's my reflection on A World Post Florian is that I still want to play a deck with armor. Doesn't leave me many options, but
what do you mean?
Is what it is.
You've got a new option coming out in Armory Deck Origins. Holla!
What do you mean a new option? It's coming out in like 2078. It's not even like legal for the Pro Tour.
Wait, is that true?
I'm pretty sure it doesn't come out until like May or something ridiculous.
Oh, I thought this was like a compendium release thing.
I'm fairly certain it's not. Feel free to correct me.
Here, while
I'm talking more about the weekend, you can figure out the release date. Yes, the weekend was great. I played, like Cody said, Florian. I went 9-3.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
It pretty unfortunate. I was right? It comes out in May.
Yeah, April 17th.
Yeah, April 17th. You said
after the Pro Tour. That's all that matters.
After the Pro Tour. Okay, yeah, that's the important part. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, anyways, I lost to Majin Bay on Acilio and Andrew Lorenz on Acilio day 1. And it was they were very sad losses because both my opponents actually just like drew really bad, but I didn't put Bell in my deck because I was like, I'm probably going to lose to Acilio anyway. Let me just like shore up the other matchups. And then those were actually games in this timeline that I could have won because I drew the cards that would have been Bell and like, maybe change the outcome. I could still lose, of course, but like it was a little bit frustrating having those be my 2 losses. And then on day 2, I started 3-0, and going into day 2, X2, at a tournament of this size, you have to lose the last round. It's like your only choice. And even then, there's like a chance you don't get in. So the round before last, I paired into Thomas, one of the pioneers of the Pleiades deck. And after the first 4 turns, I had 1 total channel left in my deck. I started the game with 5, and they were all reduced based off of Miller's Grindstones, Test of Iron Grips, Clash of Bravado, etc. So yeah, that made that game a lot more difficult, and people probably know I'm a Remembrance hater, so I had no Remembrance to get back any power cards, and just ended up folding to that. Still clutched up in the last round against Agro Blaze's Victor, where he didn't have 1 million years of life gain, so that was a little bit easier to fight through. But yeah, overall, really good weekend, and I was glad to play Florian in the last event he's ever going to be legal.
Fair. Yeah, without Remembrance in the deck, the Florian Pleiades matchup, you have to have some good first cycle damage.
Yeah, typically how I like to play those matchups as Florian, and who cares? It's free info now. It's not like Florian's playable. Is like get in some early turns with like CMHs and go agains, just pushing above turn cycle value to like chip them down, and then going for the Germinades after they're in like the mid 20s, and you can actually just close it out. But yeah, not being able to get in any chip damage. I think he was at like 43 when I was actively trying to attack him and stuff. Is not so good.
Well, someone who did better than both of us by far is Lucas, back on getting another top 8. Second place, thought you were taking the whole thing down, but as you mentioned, you wanted to make sure Florian was gone. But overall, how was your weekend playing the Marionette?
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, very well played to Michael Yesker. It was a very good finals. I'm excited to go and look back at it. I'm sure I made some mistakes, and I'm sure he played very well. So super thrilled to look back at that. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty sick weekend. I actually kind of had like an awkward start. We got in really late on Friday. I didn't sleep very well. Any of the days. The Airbnb we were at was like, it was not very comfortable. It was really warm, and then it was really cold. Like, it was not the best, but as any seasoned card game enjoyer knows, this is of course a buff for your weekend. The less comfortable you are and the less you sleep, the better you're bound to do. So day one didn't actually start off super well. I played a mirror round 1. I played against Derek Chu. I ended up losing round 1, but then I won out from there. I beat an RKO, I beat a Dio, I beat 2 Gravies, and then something else day 1. I want to say an Acilio, I believe. Not an Acilio. I don't remember exactly which days I played what, but it was something like 2 mirrors, 2 Acilios, 3 Gravies, 2 Fangs, and then one Dory, 1 RKO, and something else in there. But I played a bunch of really strong players. I played Michael Fang, Guy Cohen, Bird Cabrera, many others, Matt Dokes. So it was sick. I always love playing these tournaments where I get to play against a lot of people that I haven't gotten to play against in a while, especially stronger players. So to be able to kind of come out and do that with a deck like this, where it's very back and forth on both sides in a lot of the games, it was a lot of fun. And I will say this is some of the most fun I've had playing FAB in a while. Being able to play a hero that kind of attacks and blocks and thinks on both players' turns, and you get to have interesting sequencing decisions is not something I've necessarily had to do in a while, given that I've been playing Verdance for 6 months. So that was a nice change of pace. But I mean, yeah, I'm super thrilled to be able to finally top 8 with something to do well and play something that's not Verdance. So Mario treated me pretty well. I think as any top finish, I definitely had to get lucky to get where I was. I had some very fortunate games, especially in the top 8. My top 8 game against Nia Tran in particular was a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, I'm happy to have another top finish under my belt, and looking forward to the rest of the year, where presumably the Runaways will continue to top 8 and do well at every event that we go to.
Is this your first one with a non-elemental hero?
My first what? Calling top 8?
Yeah.
Calling top 8. The other ones were with Oldhim, then Starvo, and I guess I won the limited calling with Florian, so because it was Rosetta. So I guess this is my first calling top 8.
Yeah, it's the first non-elemental one.
And the Nats top 8s were Verdance and Lexi too. So
yeah.
There you go. I finally can do well with something other than an elemental hero. Look at me go.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's a new skill unlocked.
Yeah.
Great. My calling was not as successful, at least placing wise. I played Florian as well. I lost to 2 Florian mirrors and a Fang. I was close to winning probably all those games, and it felt like it came down to a coin flip. I did realize that I probably was playing a little too safe in some of those matches. Some of the skill that I like to take advantage of when you're playing at like a more local level, where you play super safe because you can make up value somewhere else. I probably forced those games into being like into a flip when they probably didn't need to be if I had just taken some more aggressive lines earlier in the game. It was actually like an interesting weekend overall. I'll talk about my Battle Hardened, and then I'll talk about some of the things that I realized. But like I played the Battle Hardened, which was my first time ever really playing Sage. And I played Oldhim, which is probably a surprise to most people, but I don't like playing chain mirrors when everyone's playing chain. Like I just don't enjoy playing chain mirrors. I think the only actual skill in chain mirrors is who flips the most stuff off the top of the deck. After we literally sat down and tested hundreds and hundreds of mirrors, tracking every possible stat you can imagine, and the only stat that ever mattered was who flipped more dudes off the top of the deck. So ever since then, I kind of just don't like playing the mirror. So I decided to play Oldhim, and everything was going pretty good until the second to last round. I ran into an Enigma, and that match is literally impossible. I'm like the X1 bracket. I'm like, looking around, it's just chains and like Iras and a couple of Guardians, and I love playing Guardian mirrors. So like I'm super excited, and then I sit down. I'm like, what are you playing? And he's like, Enigma, and I was like, oh, I guess my tournament's over. That's and so that was kind of how it wrapped up. My first feelings of Sage are just that we got to get rid of Chain, and we probably have to get rid of Oldhim.
Well,
like it's just like both of these decks are ridiculous.
One thing that is kind of nice about Sage, I don't actually know when the first time this kicks in, but like we can just ban the heroes that are broken. Like presumably Chain and Oldhim will be gone the first time the community gets an opportunity to kill them, right?
Yeah. I do think it's weird because I do think those heroes, while definitely overtuned to everything else, there's just a lot of there's a lot of feel bads. So there's like a lot of decks that just like, I'm going to do 15 damage on like turn 1 or 2. And like, you just lose the game from that spot. And there's like a whole pile of decks that do that. And it just feels kind of bad. And then there's like a bunch of decks that are like, I'm going to actually play the game with you and we're going to play a bunch of turns. And when you get to do that, I think Sage is actually pretty fun to play. But like, you don't want to sit down and it's like Azalea goes first and they're just like overpower, giant arrow. You're like, what am I doing? Like, why are we playing this game?
Or the deck that our teammate Connor played to the top 8 of the Battle Hardened with his snapshot Lexi deck. I haven't actually taken a full look at the list, but I figure we should definitely shout out Connor. That was a sick finish with a sick list.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. As well. But I think that Sage, I'm worried. I'm worried that even if you take out like the other decks, I think Sage felt fun when I was playing Guardian mirrors, which is, I think, maybe not the best place for the deck for everything to be in. But besides that, I spent a lot of time thinking about why I lost the games that I lost, and a lot of it felt like I was losing flips in the end game, which is absolutely true. I could have won my matches if like the coin flip that I had set it up to at the end game had gone my way. But one of the great thing about being at Callings is you get to watch like the top 8 matches. You get to watch like the last couple of rounds of a tournament. And something that you don't get when you're watching on stream is you get to see like the player emotions and what they're kind of feeling or thinking at like different parts of the game. And so I spent a lot of the time after Sage, because the great thing is if you're playing a Sage Battle Hardened, the thing is over in like 4 hours. It's like, even if you make top 8, I'd be watching a CC match. I'd go play my Sage round. I'd come back and start watching the same CC match. And I was playing the fatigue deck. But I remember I was watching Jacuzzer play. I think it was this top 8 game against the Pleiades deck. And the strat that he had to do in order to try and win that game is basically play Germinate like 10 times. Because there was like no chip that happened earlier in the game. His opponent was at like 47 health or something ridiculous. So he had to make like 50 plus rune chance to try and win the game. And that was like the only strat. And something clicked is like, I feel like when I get into late game scenarios like that, where he's looking down, he has maybe like 15, 16 cards left in his deck. If he has to remembrance, if he remembrances and like the hands draw in a weird order, he just like auto loses the game. These are things that like normally might make you make different decisions or play differently. He has to block in certain ways to get to that in-game state. And the exact like what was happening is not super relevant. It's more of just like when I get into situations like that, I have realized that I tend to feel a lot of fear that something will go wrong or what my opponent could possibly have for something to go wrong. I mean, I think it's why I lost the Fang game, is I was afraid of the one thing my opponent could have that was going to make me lose the game on the spot. So I took a route that played around that, and then also didn't lose me immediately on that turn. But because of that decision, I lost on the following turn. And I think watching other people play and realizing that even if you feel the fear in those situations, you have to make the play that wins the game, or you have to attempt to make the play that wins the game. Sometimes things will go wrong, and sometimes the what you fear will happen, but you just have to, like, when you're feeling the fear, you just have to like push it down. You have to know that you have to make the play anyway, which was something I was very good at doing previously, which is why I had a lot of success in various other decks. But I've noticed, I think, in the last couple of tournaments, I've started to feel that and maybe let that make some of the decisions for me. So I figured some other people might be able to take those lessons or take that idea to heart. But it was something that I noticed. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I would be afraid of this happening, but you just got to do it anyway. It's like, doesn't matter.
I think
probably means you're on the right track.
I think you saw the end of my game, Cody, where I was playing against the Katsu on day one, where like I just lost the game 100% if he has Ancestral Empowerment. Not on that turn. Like I could have blocked on that turn to block around it, but I was like, there's just no universe where I'm winning the game if he has Ancestral. So I'm just going to play like he doesn't have it. And that gives me the best chance to win, even though my heart was beating out of my chest. Hoping he just didn't have it.
Yeah, and I agree. Like there's still plays like that I make all the time. It was more of like on a macro level. I get afraid that the macro plan will fail because my opponent will do X and X and X. And I think you just have to ignore that and just push for value and push for whatever it is, whatever the best play is for your macro to win. And if they counter it, they counter it. If they don't, they don't. I know I've talked to people a lot of the times where it feels very bad for you to take a whole turn off because your opponent could have anything in their 4 or 5 card hand. But sometimes taking the whole turn off to set up is just like what you have to do to win the game. And so you can't let that fear. And that's like one of the reasons I beat a Dio is they got like double pounder out, but they were afraid to give me a 5 card hand. So they like wasted counters off their pounder for one attack. They like one attack and then set up some more. But because of that, they didn't have enough damage to like push through when they should have just fully set up with their double pounder out. And we talked about it after the game. And it's just like an example of where you just gotta you have to know that wasting those resources to try and stop your opponent from having, multiple cards in their hand is probably wrong in a lot of scenarios. So overall, I think it was a good weekend. I had a lot of fun. It was great to play Florian. And I'm glad I got to finally get back out into some high level tournaments. I'm excited to play some more Flesh of Blood, especially with the Pleiades fatigue deck, gotta go out there and be a menace.
Yeah, that was the one thing that made me consider just playing KO again. If people start picking that up, then KO is like a pretty simple answer to it that like I know how to actualize that game plan. And it means no one's going to play Florian anymore too, so.
Yeah. Florian is gone. You can't play that anymore. There's not a choice there. I did want to cover, I guess, some of the things that happened while we were gone, like the RTN wins. Florian had 17 wins. So he is gone. He will not take any more points from this RTN season. So I'm curious to see where those wins go in the next couple of weeks that we still have left. Acilio ramped up to 11 wins. I think Acilio is the new hot deck. Kind of everyone's playing that. We kind of saw that at the calling. And then Verdance, to Lucas's dismay, is still winning games at 11, and he has no idea how.
I understand why it wins games. I have no idea how it's winning this many tournaments, but people tell me that they defeat their opponents, so I believe you.
KO at 10, Marionette at 9, Dio at 8, and then a smattering below that. I will say, Lyeth got his first points ever this week.
Nice.
Won an RTN, got his first 2 points.
It was just like a fatigue pile, right?
Yeah, it was a fatigue pile.
Yeah, nice. Any innovation you've done on Lyeth to make it cool? No.
No, fatigue pile.
Every blue card that blocks 3? Yeah, put it in there. Oasis, put it in there.
Facts. So, what do we think the impact of Florian leaving will be? Because I tried to math this out, and I'm struggling to find how this actually changes the meta in any meaningful way. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Florian rotating out.
I just think the simplest reason is people have to play something. Like if they were Florian players, they have to play something else. And I think a lot of people who played Florian like we've talked about before, the actual playing of Flesh and Blood.
Mhm.
So I think they probably won't gravitate towards something like a Gravy Bones, or I mean maybe they'll play a Cilio, but I don't think they will either. I don't know. I just think the Florian players will disperse amongst the rest, and he was never really hard gatekeeping a deck that is just unplayable. I mean, like maybe Vincent, but yeah, maybe just something like Vincent and DL feel more comfortable coming out to tournaments. But those are kind of decks that I think only specialists really play anyway. So I'm not sure how much he affects the aggregate meta.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of decks that he was good into, right? I'm thinking like Warrior, Slippy, Marionette, like you mentioned, Dio, Vincent,
Ira.
Ira. Yeah, like there's a bunch of these decks, but I don't really see any of these decks like moving up a full tier. It's just like, yeah, like you said, like they all probably like their win condition or win percentages rather probably increase over the span of a tournament slightly, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be like a huge meta shift. Just given that the decks that Florian was good into were either not meta for other reasons or were meta anyway. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
Until like the last week of the format, he really wasn't like super widely played even. So he wasn't like it wasn't like people were not taking decks because I just can't beat Florian with this. Like
I'm glad you bring up Ira because that's the one that immediately jumped to my mind. Is like we had Nia top on Katsu, and then Ira is like another ninja. I think both of those are definitely benefited off of Florian leaving, but there's still this stupid card called Codex of Frailty that's legal in the game. So like,
yeah,
that seems pretty tough to counter. And they have no armor. I mean, like Katsu is basically just straight naked. Like he has 0 block chest. He has the like 2 battle worn, and then you're never blocking with mask. So yeah, it seems tough.
and we'll see if people actually move to the list like what Neo was playing. But if people are playing Edge of Autumn, like it's like even less. You have like 2 Blade Break. Like I guess it's 1 more armor, but like it's less flexible to use. Like my game against Neo, like he had no equipment in play on like turn 2. Like it was
Yeah, just how Katsu works.
Yeah.
You break all your equipment, do your combo turn, and then hope you can just like
Yeah.
figure out how to close the game from there.
Yeah.
Fair. Do we think that Acilio is now like S tier? Is it like the deck now?
I think it's like I think the level 0 of the format is just that Mario and Acilio are like clearly the strongest decks. Gravy exists with an angle where I think he's super powerful into a lot of the decks he is still not like deterministically beating, but like you're very good into. And then if you have a plan that you think is okay into some of the aggro decks, like your Mario matchup's still good. So there's probably like reasons to play a lot of the other decks. I think it's just going to be what we've seen for sort of basically since High Seas came out, where it's the same like 10 decks. They just like keep swapping who's on top. It's probably like Mario and Acilio's time, and then like every other deck that's been good for the past year is still playable.
Fair enough. It's weird to have like one of the best decks in the meta leave, and the meta isn't immediately completely different. Because like that's typically how it works. Like I think we put Florian at like S tier before. He's gone.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he's gone.
Yeah.
But like the meta's like the same. It's just like you just.
Well, it's because like the meta's always been arbitrary. Like you said, we put him at S tier, but we actually had him at A tier 2 weeks ago. Like we just like it's like whatever. Like they're all like somewhere in there. Like they're S or A tier depending on the week. Like whatever. You just move one of them out. They just shuffle around a little bit more.
Do you think they're moving over to be Verdance players? Because
I'm sure some of them will. I'm sure some of them still just want to cast Felling of the Crown. Like
Yeah, so maybe if they didn't reprint Felling and Plow and you had more like vested interest in getting your value out of those cards, then you'd switch over to Verdance. But I don't know. There's like not that much overlap. Part of the strength of Florian is like you can play off of one card.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think Marionette's still probably the best. I think KO gets a little better, especially with like Acilio and stuff running around. If Acilio ticks up,
Well, also I think KO is slightly ahead in the Marionette as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I honestly probably go ahead.
It's the deck that objectively makes the most sense. That's why
Yeah.
it's so annoying because
Yeah.
now I'm gonna have to play it.
Yeah, I do think KO makes a lot of sense if you're willing to do it. The problem is whether or not they have good reasons. People en masse are not normally willing to do it.
fair. You still have all of the warrior decks that are trying to do stuff. It's better for them though. To be fair, it's better for them. They now, instead of like multiple bad matchups, they have reduced one of their bad matchups.
Yeah, and now it's just like the other two best decks, and
Now their gravy match is decent, and then their marionette match is okay for warrior.
Okay is yeah.
Yeah,
They win
better
a bunch of
than their
games.
Verdance match.
You win a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Verdance match isn't good either. I think you're good into gravy.
Yep.
Play warrior.
This is not just the warrior hate podcast.
Play warrior.
Like,
No, you guys got it.
like,
I think warriors are all fine, but like they're still warriors. Like you're terrible into wizard. You're behind into a bunch of like any deck that's powerful. You're probably slightly behind into, and then you're
I think
fine
we're just
into.
not fans of the classes from WTR. You need a.
Have you seen all the like the LL like numbers rates where it's like, yeah, we've had 5 Runeblades LL before like a single warrior or a single brute. Like it's ridiculous.
well, that might change because somebody has ticked over the 900 mark this past one, and their name is KO. So, do you think he's going to LL by the end of the season? Do you think that's where people gravitate towards? Because it kind of feels like if I was still trying to qualify, I'd probably play KO.
It's
hard to predict. I don't know that we've ever been right on our prediction of whether a hero's going to LL in the thing. So
yeah.
I guess if I want him to LL, I should say he won't. There we go. So I'll say he won't make it.
Yeah,
that way I can be wrong but still win.
It feels unlikely to me that he'll LL, but I'm sure he'll be gone by the end of ProQuest season, right? Probably Verdance as well, right? She's at almost 800 points.
So it's really interesting, actually, if you look at we have 2 seasons, right, before Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have, and so KO is at 912. Prism is at 850.
Mm-hmm.
Phi is at 813. He got some points. He got 8 points.
He's chugging along.
He's not going to go anywhere, more than likely. Verdance is at 792. So that's really the top 3 that I guess we would be concerned about. So like Prism could be gone, and then KO could be gone, and then Verdance could be gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if KO goes quicker, I could see Prism leaving. If we move towards a meta that's more like aggro decks, and then Gravy's kind of keeping the non-aggro decks that are stronger into Prism perhaps a little bit lower, especially if people aren't willing to play Warrior, I could see Prism kind of just running through a lot of these sort of local events. And then if both of those decks go, maybe we see Verdance as well. I mean, Verdance, I still don't think she's amazing, but clearly people want to play her, and she is good at the local level. She's winning games. She's a strong hero. So I don't know. I think we could see all 3.
And it's confirmed we're getting no new heroes in the Copium, right?
I have not heard this.
I believe so. That's what I was told over the weekend.
Over the weekend, a lot of people were saying this. So that means, we're really just bleeding out heroes here, which is good, I guess, in one sense. But like with Florian, I think if KO leaves, if Prism leaves, it's just, okay, sure, these are decks you don't have to face anymore, but none of the actual like gatekeepy decks I feel like are actually leaving.
Yeah. Then if I look at this list, the next gatekeepy deck that I see is Verdance. Verdance is 100% a gatekeepy deck.
Exactly.
So like Verdance going away is a big deal. And I think with all these extra callings, it could be. It'll be interesting, I guess.
Well,
to see.
the problem is that Prism or KO would have to win a calling, and that's not going to happen.
I meant for like Verdants.
I mean, even then.
But Verdants has won callings and before.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I just think, and for all we know, some of these classes should be getting help in Copium. Because if there's no new heroes, then the whole set is essentially just support. It has to shake up the meta. It has to do something.
It doesn't.
Doesn't
have to do anything. Actually,
we can't have a year. We can't have 1 year of the same meta.
If you think about it, like basically, unless we get like a Levia consumed level card where like one of the unplayable heroes like fundamentally changes how they interact with the game, we're not going to see a meta shakeup. We're going to see the same 10 decks just like switch around a few slots again. Like it'll be like, oh, Kasai's a little better than she was before, or like, you know, Acilio got some extra hate cards, so he like gets knocked down a peg. Like it's not like I don't know. I think maybe we could see like a few of the decks that were like hovering there maybe get better. You know, like those like Fi, Katsu, Ira, like
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent, maybe like Reinhardt, right? Like something could get like a random card that's really powerful. But yeah, I think without something to the level of like, I think Levia Consumed is the best thing that comes to mind, right? Where it's like we're, like you said, we're bleeding out a lot of those like AS tier heroes, and we're kind of just, you know, we only have so many left, and everybody else is kind of still just like bad. So I don't know. It depends on, you know, if they want this to be high power or not.
Don't shut down my Copium, okay? There's a reason that's what the set is being called, and it has to change the meta. We can't have the same meta for a year. It can't be 1 year of the straight meta the same. Surely, if they're not introducing new heroes, they must have done something to shake up the current meta, because they knew SUP wasn't going to make any meta changes. Well, it might now. We can talk about that in a minute. We knew that SUP wasn't going to really make any meta changes. So it's basically just C meta.
Yeah, it's been high C for like a year.
It's just been high C meta for almost a year. If Copium doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's
concerning.
Yeah, dude, we're all horrified. We know. We're like, I'm scared, man. Like I'm on the same boat.
Hopefully, when we get on next week to talk, we'll have heard at least something.
Yeah. Don't spoilers start sometime that aren't just cards that we've already seen?
I think it's this. We got a holo spoiler. We actually got multiple holo spoilers, and they were better. They were better than I thought they were going to be. Like the cards are good. They're still warrior cards, but like
the concept of a flurry token is actually insane.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that you get to play a warrior that like can maybe play like real cards and a bunch of blues, like cool.
That is the next meta, though. That's not this meta. That's the
who cares, man? I don't know.
That's not the Copium meta. That's after Copium.
The design space, as well as like there's sharpening as a keyword, and then there's also the like if it just has counters, it does a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily need to sharpen in order to get those like plus counter effects. You could use something like Oath of Steel or Iron Song Pride, I think is the one.
It's a little awkward because the sharpen your sword mechanic also says remove all +1 counters in the end phase. So stuff like Iron Song Pride isn't very good because you can't float them between turns if you're sharpening. But I could see Oath of Steel. I think is what you said. I could see those kinds.
Well, it depends if you're playing like a two-handed warrior, right? Like, because I think you could just like you could be sharpening one half and then you could like Iron Song Pride the other half.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, seems like a lot going on for a warrior. Just do 1 damage, but you know, maybe it's worth it.
Hey, they've done more for less.
Yeah, true.
Look at Bolton.
Also, it's funny too. It's another mechanic where I feel like this was always funny with the card Entwine Lightning, how it says lightning in the name, but it's not actually a lightning card. We have a bunch of cards that like sharpen senses and sharpen steel that are like sharpened, but it's not actually sharpened.
True. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It feels weird to know nothing about Copium other than all of the reprints, but the reprints are cool. I mean, the art is sick.
Yes.
Like, and getting a Riches reprint is great. Getting the Heart reprint is great.
We have to. I don't know. Have we seen exactly how common these are all going to be? Like, I know they're in the Antiquity pack, but I don't know if they'll actually affect the prices of the cards, which would be what most people would be hoping for, with like Riches and Heart and Eye in particular. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm not hoping that they dramatically lower the price, because of where they're at currently. Obviously, I'd like to just ban from competitive play, which would affect the price.
Yeah, you
but
can do that too.
That's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ban the whole Antiquities pack.
Wait. Hold up. Maybe it's a sign. It's Antiquities pack. It's the things of old, the things that we're thrown to the wayside that can collect dust.
Is this why they call it Copium of Wraith? Because Noah's coping that they're going to ban the fake.
How can you call it antiquity, man? Call it like modern technology or something. You know? These are supposed to be relics of the past. We don't use them anymore. We've evolved.
Unfortunately, we have not.
Unfortunately, now hard to find all
devolving. Hearts back in everybody's decks.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to need the hearts for the new Pleiades fatigue deck that showed up in force. Had a great weekend. Had a 60% win rate overall for the entire weekend, which is pretty crazy. Right up there with Acilio, which is the other highest win rate deck that was there at Columbus, which makes sense. Do you think this Pleiades fatigue deck is real? A real deck that will stick around?
I think so.
I think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's I think a lot of people hear Fatigue Guardian and they kind of misunderstand what the deck is a little bit. The deck has stuff, like the deck does things. Which I don't know how to better to explain it. Like you're still like blocking basically everything your opponent does. But compared to Fatigue decks in the past, it has a lot of very unique things that it can do that make a lot of matchups a lot better. And also, Cody and I were talking about this over the weekend. It has answers to basically everything that anybody can do to try and counter it. It's not necessarily that these answers always work every time, but there's basically not a deck in the game that just like beats you because they're that deck, right? Like you have the ability to tech for and game plan for and play the game with basically everybody, and you still have the age-old fatigue thing of if you don't know what you're doing, I'm just going to bury you in the sand. So I actually do think this deck has wheels. To be continued is incredibly powerful. Her armor is quite strong. We're in a format where people don't have these crazy powerful combos for the most part. And looking at the heroes in the meta, I don't really see almost anything that's just like slam dunk. Yeah, I just beat this every time pretty easily. So I think, especially at the local level, this is a very real deck.
To me, one of the biggest strengths as well is that traditionally fatigue decks, a lot of their value was generated from putting in defense reactions. So they're getting 4+ value out of every card on defense. And typically the offensive player is struggling to get to that 4 value per card. Whereas this Pleiades deck, because they're using cards like Tough Smash Up and being able to block with 2 costs plus Rampart, they play a lot of instants that are both life gain as well as card draw defensive options. They are able to skirt things like CNC. They're able to skirt decks that are setting up because they have like Pulverizes and Righteous Cleansing type cards. They'll let them use their full hand and the ability to recur those with Up on a Pedestal.
Yeah, that card's
as
really
well
good.
as well as aura removal. Something that these decks have often struggled with is like the opponent puts permanents on the board and you struggle, but they have access to Midas Touch as well as Clash of Bravado, so they have like both instant speed and go again aura removal.
Test of Iron Grip.
Yeah. I just think that like all these tools, when combined together, make the deck a little bit different than any other fatigue deck, and that they're able to actually apply a decent amount of offensive pressure and convert their hands basically no matter what, and not lose to some like targeted hate cards, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, the deck is the way that I see it. The deck is basically just like it's almost like Arachne Huntsman, where like it's a normal deck with a bunch of different cards. Like it has power cards, it has consistency cards, like it has kind of your glue cards. Its win condition is just fatigue, so it still has all the strengths of a fatigue deck. But like you're not just, yeah, my whole deck is just 3 blocks with no text. The only disruptive attacks that my class can play, and then every defense reaction that's legal.
It's kind of like we had the question on the pod a couple of weeks back about fatigue by damage. This is like the textbook example of this, where you're attacking with the Miller's Grindstone, which presents 4 and always takes cards out of the opponent's deck. So, in tandem with that and Righteous Cleansing type cards, you're basically always just forcing the opponent to block. You're not putting bad cards in your deck that give you evasion. Instead, you're just playing the cards that are like on rate and winning based on the fact that your opponent has to give up way more of their deck than you do.
I think this deck is also kind of a little worrisome. We've never had a fatigue deck that exists like this. A couple of ways. One, it can increase its defense with toughness tokens. It can float damage prevention into the next turn with stuff like in the palm of your hand, letting you draw an extra card on a turn that you might need to block more, or to be continued. So it has everything from like the defensive side and still all the D-reacts, of course. And then it has some of the randomness, like I need to clash. But it has stuff like up on the pedestal to be able to like make that clash always happen and always win. Also, it can second cycle a lot of its clashing abilities it needs to do. And then it has like an entire toolbox of answers for whatever your opponent attempts to do, to set up the counter pitch. So unlike a lot of fatigue decks where if they lose a match, they lose the match every time, this deck loses the match some of the time now against really skilled opponents because it actually has a way to play the game. I think the skill required to play this at an optimal level is incredibly high, which is not always how it's been for fatigue decks previously. To the point where I don't think we've seen like the ceiling level of play from the Pleiades side. So it feels like you have a lot of engagement, you have a lot of options, even like bad cards like the inducement card that's just like they draw a card and then discard a card
Hostile
when it hits.
encroachment.
Yeah, encroachment. Yeah. The encroachment card is just like that stops in-game loops that you would normally lose as a fatigue deck with Heart, or like FAB used to always beat fatigue decks because of its in-game loop, and this stops that from being able to happen.
Verdant's playing Evergreen, for example. You can just pedestal hostile encroachment. And will you play Righteous Cleansing, get every card out of their deck, and then you just hostile encroachment them with every pedestal? Very powerful.
And so you're playing a fatigue deck that has its own macro game plan and your own engagement levels that you're trying to actively like attack your opponent and do certain things towards the end game. I think it makes it a much more active playing fatigue deck. So if someone who's never played a fatigue deck, they might actually enjoy this a little bit more than if you don't just like blocking all the time. But I think it's also just incredibly powerful, to the point where it might end up being an issue if we lose too much aggression. But I don't want to rule that out currently. But it is a little worrisome.
Yeah, I think it's an issue if LSS decides that they don't want this kind of deck being good, because I don't think the deck is anywhere near like an oppressive fatigue deck, but I also don't think it's going to be like fatigue decks we've seen in the past where like the community comes to a consensus on how to beat it and then it just leaves the meta. Like, I think this deck's just going to be good for a while.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Skullcap? I feel like in the past couple months we've had a bit of a renaissance of that card being used for its AB3 potential. Do you think that that's like an Easter egg? Like, do you think when they designed the card, they designed it, I was like, oh yes, people will love playing this card because they're going to go lower than their opponents and leverage the AB3? Or like, do you think that was just a random piece tacked on and it just happens to be relevant now?
It was always relevant.
Yeah.
We're just, I think really what happened was like they've always been really careful with arcane damage, and Rosetta and then the Verdant's 3-for-6s were like basically the first time where we've ever seen arcane damage go that big consistently outside of like Kano, both with Acilio having Volzar and with Channel of the Millennium Tree. So I think, like you were saying, like when they printed the card, they definitely understood that this was something that would be relevant. but also it definitely seems like just the kind of effect where like it is actually a really powerful effect if you think about it. Like in theory, if you're playing a fatigue deck, a hat that says Arcane Barrier 3 and also blocks 3 is like ridiculous.
It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Like you basically just spawned in 3 free equipment zones because like your Guardian, you had to play Null Rune, but now you just get like plus 6 or 7 life because you get to play real equipment and still have AB3. It's insane.
Yeah. Or just have AB6, which is what they
yeah,
do.
I mean AB3 on one slot, so you can like put in the other AB pieces. Like, it's unreal, man.
Yeah.
Yep. I also want to point out that this deck highly abuses Remembrance for a lot of its game plans.
Oh yeah.
So I will once again mention that Remembrance could easily be banned from this game. It does not fit how the game should be played. And I will once again say if they ever need to tune this deck or other decks, Remembrance can be removed from the game.
One of the things though is like if you just hit Remembrance, it actually removes a lot of ways that I think maybe newer players can try to figure out how to beat this deck. Like if you're just wanting to be like level 0 of they're running me out of cards, let me put Remembrance in my own deck and then maybe I'll get more cards in my deck and I'll be able to win. I feel like Remembrance is actually maybe a better tool at fighting this deck if you have like power cards to get back than like it is in the deck itself, because the Pleiades deck itself has up on a pedestal, so that's already 6 cards. That's already 2 Remembrances worth of cards, right? I think hitting Remembrance just as a card is not like a solution to this deck.
No, it's not a solution, but I think it's a good start to see where the meta should be. I think Remembrance is just a bad card in general for the game because your cards are supposed to matter when you play them, and how you use them is supposed to matter, and Remembrance nullifies a lot of that. It's also a good way that they could hit Gravy Bones if they ever cared to do so, because a lot of the level 0 way of playing Gravy Bones into anyone who wants to block them is just put back all their boats and then hit you with boats. Yeah. So
this is what I was saying with that thing, but
yeah. So that is like the you don't need to know anything about fatigue. That's just like how you play Gravy Bones. So I don't think this is something they have to do right now, but it is definitely an option. That's something that they should keep in mind moving forward. But it is pretty important to the game plan. But it even uses things like call to block with, and then
call
put an extra card on top of it. Yeah, call for backup.
I thought you said call.
No, call. So they're using like call for backup to block, and with a toughness token, it blocks for 3, and then they just get an extra card in their deck, which is just like
that's what I'm saying. They have much more creative ways of not having Remembrance.
Yeah. One other thing we didn't mention is that cards like Call for Backup, Tough Smash Up, and Fiddler's Green are like you mentioned this a little bit where they can sort of float turn to turn value. But also one thing that fatigue decks have struggled into before is being able to get value blocking small attacks. Like your opponent could just go, like Kodachis were like really hard for these decks to deal with. But this deck deals with like Hunter's Clay for 1 and, Kodachi for 1 and stuff like that very well with between the Fiddlers, the Call for Backups, the Tough Smash Ups. Like you have a lot of ways to block smaller attacks and then still get value out of your card, which is really good.
Yep.
Fiddler's Green in particular is really good against decks that are trying to chip in small attacks.
Yeah, it blocks 4 of those attacks.
It blocks so much more. It's so much better. It's so broken. Dude, blocking Hunter's Glaive with Fiddler's Green is so nuts.
Yeah. It's great. So I don't know. I think the deck is real. I plan on playing it this weekend at my RTN. I have acquired the cards I was missing here.
So if you're going to Cody's RTN, put 3 Remembrance in your sideboard.
Oh no, I'm fairly certain. I'm trying to get as many people as possible to bring the deck to the RTN because I think it would be so funny if there's like 10 fatigue Pleiades like in the room.
It's just like your deck for the mirror match.
The Pro Quest
I want like
ends at 2 a.m.
I want 50 people to show up, and there'll be like 10 Pleiades. Because it would be so funny. Plus, the mirror actually looks pretty fun. Throwing big hammers and big attacks at each other. I love
our definition of fun is so much different than everybody else's definition of fun. Because I agree, but like, there's no way you want to do that.
I want to do it all day. That was like one of the reasons I was playing Ultim, and I'm like, come on, Guardian Mirrors, come on, Guardian Mirrors. I just want to swing big hammer.
I love Guardian Mirrors,
but okay. I don't know. It was exciting. It was cool to see everything that they did with the deck and see it show up and then get 2 in the top 8 is Very impressive.
Yeah, no. I mean, shout out to the two guys who did it. I mean, that was some crazy innovation. I know a lot of people were talking about the deck before, but they were on it, and their list was sick. All their game plans were sick. I was very impressed by those two, and
Their heads are sick.
indeed.
Okay. Anything else before we jump into some podcast questions?
No.
I also thought it was great that Damien was so open with talking about the deck. He was obviously very proud of what they did. And I got to sit down with him, and he just like laid the whole deck out. Like end of like day one, he just like laid the whole deck out, and we're just like asking questions like, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? And his knowledge was like on the deck was super great.
Yeah.
So
I had the same experience day one. I talked to him quite extensively about the deck. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
What are you giggling about over there?
No, just okay, fine. I was gonna flame him, but you asked. I had like the classic Damien check-in after every round. You know, like you go to people and you like ask them how they're doing. Every round he comes over. Oh, I'm 1-0. Oh, I'm 2-0. Oh, I'm 3-0. Like every round he made sure I was aware of the fact that he was winning every single game. I really enjoyed that.
I respect that.
I will say, other than myself, he was probably the single person who I was the most curious to see how he would do.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. Like I was hoping that both him and Thomas did well.
Yep. Okay. Next, some podcast questions. These are asked by premium members of our MetaFi. If you'd like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, find people to practice with, or ask us questions in the Discord, feel free to join in the link below. First question here is from Michael. He asks, I'm wondering how the meta will shape once Verdance, KO, and Prism LLs, since all of them are at 200 point threshold or less. Do you think Copium will bring us new heroes?
Okay. Well, I think we addressed literally all of this, but we could say again, it's a good question. I'm pretty sure Copium is confirmed no new heroes, so unless there's some spoiler hero that they haven't showed us, and we're gonna get 2 weeks before the tournament, no new heroes. And also, after Verdance leaves, maybe you can answer this better, Lucas, but KO and Prism leaving basically makes no difference. Maybe people won't play as much Balance of Justice in their decks.
So there is some overlap between the heroes. So I think each hero leaving individually probably isn't that big of a deal. But collectively, there are some classes that are bad into all of this. Guardian is the standout for me. It is bad into Verdance, bad into KO, and bad into Prism. Overall, obviously, some of the Guardians are better and worse. Some of them do have some good matchups in there. But overall, I would say as a class, Guardian is weak into all of these. So I could see as we move away from these heroes, especially Florian just left. And so in particular, if Gravy downticks or if there is more things that Guardians can do to beat Gravy, I don't want to get everybody too excited, but I do think we could see Guardian being like, as a class.
You heard it here, Victor #1, Victor best deck. Everyone invest in Victor cards.
Yeah. I don't know about all that, but maybe the Guardian class will be able to win some tournaments, which it has not been able to do, since I was a minor.
It'll do it. It'll just do it as Pleiades fatigue deck.
Yeah, like Guardian should theoretically soon be able to look at your opponent's life total and care about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think Verdance going away is a big deal for Warriors.
That's also true.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Ham asks, was Fatigue Pleiades success from it being an actual meta deck or something that players weren't prepared for? I think we answered this as well, but both.
Yeah. People weren't prepared for it, and it has the strength of being an actual meta deck.
Yeah.
Yep. But people will never be prepared for it. It's been a million years, and majority of people don't know how to play against Fatigue. So
yeah, it's also, even if you do know how to play against Fatigue,
this one has answers.
Playing a 45-minute round where you see your whole deck 2 or 3 times is just different than every other game you play. So yeah, like Cody said, people are never going to be perfectly.
The deck also has Miller's Grindstone, and I think often the correct play against this deck is just to take the Millers if you're capable of converting your hand, and then that just leads to a lot of RNG moments where you could lose important cards.
Yeah.
Yep. King of Mice says, does Florian leaving change the meta whatsoever? Was he holding any decks down, and will decks now rise to prominence? No.
No.
Maybe Dio gets better.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Dio has been
a
struggling.
bunch of decks get better, but nothing was held back, I don't think.
Yeah. KO definitely gets a lot better. I don't know. It's always funny hearing people's opinions on that matchup, but I feel like I have a bit of a...
I trust nobody more.
Yeah, I trust myself with my own opinion on this, that KO gets a lot better now that Florian's gone.
Fair. Foxman asks, if all Runaways members ran a race that was a 40-yard dash, which 3 members are finishing with gold, silver, and bronze medals?
Oh, no. Which members are finishing with oxygen tanks on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just like rapid fire the contenders, right? It's like me, Dan, maybe Julian, maybe Austin. I would expect
Reese.
Yeah, Reese. I would expect.
What about Raj or Charles?
Yep, probably those two. Youngji, I'm sure. Jesse, probably. New Zealand Jesse. I trust American Jesse less.
Oh, yeah, New Zealand Jesse for sure. I was gonna say American Jesse.
Yeah.
Tim. Ooh. I don't know how his knee's doing. If his knee's okay, he's probably all right. But yeah, I would probably think if I was to put money on anybody, it would probably be between myself, Dan, and Charles. Those would be like my initial reactions for who I would think would be in no particular order.
I don't think it's Dan, from what I know. I think it's New Zealand Jesse.
Oh yeah. New Zealand.
I think that's my number one.
New Zealand Jesse, Reese, and you.
He's always working.
I feel like Reese is fast. No, Reese strikes me as someone who did cross country. At least.
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
And then I think the only reason I'm like a shoo-in is because I'm the only person whose like body still works. That's it.
You're a child.
Yeah, like I have yet to pay.
You're still a child, so everything works.
Lucky me.
Mm-hmm. Mike at Blockout Party asks, can you name all of the cards that contain the word blow?
One of them was in my deck this past weekend.
Blow for blow is in my deck as well.
Yeah.
There's sweeping blow. It's the draw my card. Yeah. So blow for a blow, sweeping blow. Yep. Wounding blow. I feel like there's not that many. There's probably like some brute card, right? Like
I'm thinking of lots of phrases that have the word blow in it, but I don't think any of them are flesh and blood cards.
Yeah. It's like dealing a blow. Blow. Is there any like blowing you a kiss kind of?
Wait, mocking blow.
Mocking blow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any like? Is there anything other than like just a blow, as in like a strike? I feel like there's like no other uses of the word blow. Is there like low blow?
Maybe the next heavy hitters.
I bet low blow.
Oh, low blow. Yeah.
Low blow exists.
That's 5.
Is that a real card? What does it do?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the 1 for 3 from Super Slam.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's why I don't know what it does. Okay.
We should go with 5.
Well, it's always one more. I'm gonna go with 6.
I'm gonna go with 7.
You're going
7.
7.
I'm going with 5. I trust us.
Okay.
6.
No.
Sweeping.
Oh, buckling
blow. How did we not get buckling blow?
Mocking, wounding.
I'm telling you, there's always one that we should get. You always go one over. You always miss one.
Yeah, should have known. Okay, that was good.
Bryn says, can't stop thinking about the Sage macros conversation. Could you go a little more in depth with what would be a good macro design might be for a 20 life format? The one that says get plus 10 health. Yeah. That's my favorite macro.
It's basically anything to slow the format down, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't played the format too much, I'll be completely honest. But I would have to imagine that there is probably a lot of decks that whether it's going first or going second, they have a large number of games where the game is essentially trivial. like Azalea going like 15 dominate on turn 0, for example, or like some hero going second and presenting 20 damage or something like that. I don't know if that's actually possible in the format, like something to that effect. So if the format is in fact like a little bit fast, probably just any way to like mitigate these sorts of things. So like for example, if we did see a format where people were able to abuse going first, maybe something like if this is your first turn of the game, or like if this is your opponent's first turn of the game, just some like way to make your cards block for more. I don't know if that would actually help the format at all, but just something that slows the game down a little bit for the first few turns, so that people are able to sort of like escape the variance of like, because like in such a short health format, like actually if your opponent just has a really powerful first turn and you don't have a good hand, like if your hand's bad, like the game's just over, right? Like if unless it's like a just like a stone cold fatigue match. So basically preventing those styles of games is what I would think. Because like the thought of going to the pro tour and like, hello, I'm playing X deck. Oh, I'm playing Azalea. Azalea goes first. Here's 15 dominate. Oh darn, my hand converts for like 5 damage. Okay, we just play like 2 turns of a round at the pro tour. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
that doesn't sound like very much fun to me.
Also, just the difference between Azalea going first and second is just like astronomical, even as well. I don't know. It has to be some type of protection against like super explosive turns or big turns or something like that.
Yeah.
Which can be done if you just say everyone gets plus 10 health.
We put like a bullshit button on the table. You just get to smack it and your opponent's turn ends right there.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I've seen enough. I hit the button.
I've seen enough. Oh, let me mulligan this hand.
Yeah.
If you've taken...
If you take 10 or more damage, restart the turn, your opponent shuffles up and draws from you.
Yeah.
The game.
It'd be like if you take 15 damage, gain 5 health.
Okay, I actually think something like that would be interesting. I think maybe that exact sort of thing might be a little bit too much of a punish for decks that can deal whatever that range is, because then you're just like, okay, no block.
Well, if you could deal 14, then it'd be like, you know.
True. You start playing yellow pumps, you only want
to
deal 14.
You're like,
let's not go too crazy now.
I won't use this pump. I'm just going to swing. You're like using your pumps on their attack so that you get a refund.
Nice. Yeah, I think if we had a good answer, then LSS would also have a good answer and they would implement it. So there's not really an easy answer.
Indeed.
Just hopefully it gets slowed down a little bit. I mean, I had fun when I was playing the whole game, the whole Sage game. But I was also playing Fatigue and it was completely unfair. So I'm well aware of what I was doing. Took no skill and was also completely unfair. It was like I was playing a deck significantly better than most of my opponent's decks, and it was just like I don't think I could ever lose these games. Like there's nothing I could do to lose these games. This is ridiculous. It shouldn't exist.
We like finally have an interesting like CC Fatigue deck that like does more than just block, and then you go to Sage and it's like I will put every card in my deck sideways in front of every card in your deck, and then you will perish. Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
I like how they banned all the 4 blocks and then they just gave Guardian a bunch of yellow 4 blocks so that you're not even mana screwed like when you get the yellows. So you could play like normally you have to have a bunch of blues to play your big D reacts, but you have staunch response and then you have a bunch of yellow blocks so that you can still play your staunches when you draw them. It's like so stupid. The amount of all yellow hands I draw and be like, oh, this is functional.
Yeah.
Cooney asks, is there a fundamental problem with Runeblade design that keeps making them hit LL, or is it just popularity? And I want to push back a little bit on this question. I do not think LL is a failure. I think it is actually, if not done within like 6 months to a year of the thing coming out, I think it's actually success.
I agree. Yeah, you look at like heroes like Bravo Showstopper or like Katsu. Like, would you say that those are like overall more of a net positive for the game than something like, Florian? I would say probably not. Like a lot of people resonated with Florian. He was powerful, but like you said, yeah, he didn't leave immediately. He had his time in the sun, and then he got sunsetted.
I think Florian's a great example. He had several moments.
Yep.
Like he had several moments where he was good. He had different styles of play, and then he eventually like went out the way he came in. I think failures are like Chain is a failure, even though it's really long ago. It rotated out less than a year of existence, basically, or about a year of existence. I think a year is too short, and that's through nerfs. That's like through several nerfs. So like something like that I could see, but like Viserai is not a failure. Viserai is a great like Viserai is probably initially at some point a failure, and then they fixed the hero, and then it became good, and playable and relevant. So I think that's a good example of a good hero and a good revival from old design to new design principles. Aurora is a failure only because no action was taken, but for most of Aurora's existence, I think Aurora was in a great spot, like the best perfect spot for most of their existence. I think most Runeblades were in great shape.
Yeah, if you want to ask the question of why Runeblades have been so strong, because they have definitely been strong. I mean, they are the strongest class in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah,
If you look at the whole history, I think it honestly is like an individual issue for the most part. Um, if you look at the first few Runeblades that left, you look at Chain and Briar in particular are the worst defenders, but I would throw Viserai into this as well, only because they sort of maximized on his hero ability. But those first two heroes just had like completely ridiculous hero abilities compared to everything else in the game. Like they both just gave you like an action point, and on release, Briar was giving you like a card or two
yeah.
worth of value.
On release Briar.
So I think honestly, some of the mechanics are incredibly strong. Like split damage is really good. I think really the easiest answer is that basically every time they make a rune blade, uh, they give almost no restrictions to the cards that let you convert your hands. So like if you look at Briar, she's able to convert her hands with basically all on rate cards, and her ways to go above rate just sort of naturally occur when those reasonable cards are drawn in a good order. Whereas you look at some other heroes that have to convert their whole hands, or some other classes that have to convert their whole hands but don't do it every time, something like Brute or Warrior, where like similarly to Runeblade, like they're not quite ninja level where like every hand can just play all four cards. You have to work a little bit, but they I feel like have to go through a few more hoops to be able to resolve all their cards, whereas most of the time the rune blades are printed in a way where it's like, well, Chain just like gives you go again. Briar's just a bunch of zero cost cards with go again. Aurora is kind of the same thing. Viserai, his hero ability kind of just lets you play any Runeblade card with go again, and it becomes a reasonable rate. And then with Florian, it was like he had enough go again cards that are basically free to resolve because of Grasp of the Arknight that it ended up being just reasonable. You could also look at
It's basically just
go ahead.
if you look at every equipment of Runeblade,
That was the end.
all of them are just worth multiple cards of value over the course of the game.
Mhm.
Like Face Berg is just 2 cards. Every time you resolve Grasp and it lets you convert Swarming and Rune Rager, like imagine Grasp of the Arknight didn't exist. You can't like play Swarming and Rune Rager.
Yep.
Those aren't real cards.
Yep.
Or like you didn't have Viserai's hero power. Like you can't play those cards.
Yeah, or
So I think
Aurora,
that-
Briar, or Chain's hero ability.
Yeah. Basically all the hero abilities just let you play so many, in addition to the Rune Blades themselves having deep card pool, it also just enables other crazy card pools. Like the fact you can just play Trot Along is like, oh yeah, you just throw that in your deck, and in any Rune Blade, all their weapons have small base. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you look at like Florian. It's like you just get to play however many Earth cards you want, and then you can just play like you look at like the Channelmount Heroic list at the end, where it's like, yeah, I just play like every Rune Rager. I play Outed. I play Ravenous Rabble in the same deck that's playing like Felling of the Crown. Like that's just
And it's the same thing with Briar and Aurora as well.
exactly.
Like you just splash a bunch of generics because the Rune Blades, either you have the case of like Viserai and Chain where their hero power is just like so absurd in terms of the math it gets you, or you just have your deck able to slam a million 0 for 4 generics, which are They just like fit so well in your game plan.
I think it's bigger than that. I think designing heroes in the space of a rune blade is just easier and more fun. Like
Yeah,
you're just making like a cool fighter who also has access to limited magic. And that's just like that design space is like massive. It's just there's so many things that can fit under that umbrella that I understand why we get the most interesting and most fun or most powerful heroes under that umbrella most of the time, because like that design space is way more interesting than warrior.
Yeah, you
Like,
it's,
like come on.
it's true. Like it's really hard to balance warrior because like inherently, like if warrior is ever like really good, it's just good. Like it's just gonna be good, and it's kind of boring.
Yeah. So, but I think for the most part, I don't know, if Runeblade didn't exist, I probably don't play the game. So, when I first start. But I think it's fun. I think most players' favorite classes end up being, one of the Rune Blades at some point in time.
It's either Rune
At least a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah, or one of the two. And so I think the design space is good. I think that for the most part, these are successful heroes. People wanted to play them. People missed them. People did play them. Like this is kind of what you want. Were some of them overtuned? Absolutely. But like I'd rather have some of them be overtuned and at least people care about the hero than like Betsy.
Yeah, like for the overtune thing, like I ask the audience, did you like Part the Mistveil or Outsiders more? Maybe Outsiders by example. Did you like Bright Lights or Part the Mistveil more?
Yeah.
Like you like Part of the Mistveil more. I know you did. Like, come on.
So, but I think the actual what Cooney was actually trying to ask is just like why are these heroes so good? And I think we did a good job at that. But
yeah,
I would say I hope more heroes LL after getting played by a bunch of people and hopefully around like the 2-year mark.
Yeah,
I think that's a perfect amount of time for heroes to go away. Maybe sooner. I don't know. I feel like Gravy Buns has been in the game for 20 years.
Oh yeah, he's got to go.
He's also just like a combination of the two. Like he's like a Runeblade and an illusionist.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
I say that as someone who like really enjoys playing that, or at least I used to really enjoy playing that. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to.
Well, it's because they made him. They just keep making him like less fun and less good.
Yeah.
like they spoiled us. They're like, yeah, here's all the gold generation in the world, and now it's like, yeah, now you have to play the stupid block 2 cards, and throw my god. Like, oh,
yeah,
lame.
Yep. I just feel like he's been around for 100 years at this point.
It hasn't even been one.
It hasn't been 1 year yet.
Yeah, he's not like, even. He's still 0.5x.
Fair. Cool. With that, I think we're out.
Later.